Hey everyone, Mike here, and in this video I'm going to compare the specs of the new iPhone 5s with those of the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, one of the best Android devices available in stores these days. In terms of size, the iPhone feels Lilliputian next to the Galaxy. It has a much smaller footprint, it is thinner and also significantly lighter. All this make it more comfortable to grab and use every day, especially with a single hand. The iPhone 5s should be your first choice as well if you're looking for a premium feel device, with its metal and glass body. On the other hand, the Note 3 uses plastic for the entire case, and that despite the fact that the sides look like they are made from metal and the back out of leather. They are not, it's just plastic, including those faux stitches, but the phone is grippy and sits well in hand considering its size. And the entire finishing is a step forward from the glossy plastic we've seen on previous Samsung smartphones. In terms of colors, the Note 3 will be available in white, black and pink at launch, with more options to be available later, while you can get the iPhone 5s in white, black and champagne. Anyway, Samsung managed to squeeze a 5.7-inch screen on the Note 3, with a Super AMOLED panel and Full HD resolution. It looks gorgeous, although the oversaturated colors might still be an issue for some of you. The iPhone 5s sticks to the same 4-inch display with 1136 by 640 pixel resolution we've seen on the 2012 version and pretty much the same IPS panel, which displays natural looking colors, is bright and overall just good. It's also worth mentioning that the iPhone 5s now embeds a fingerprint reader within the power button, something you might find useful. The Note 3 on the other hand offers the S Pen and a whole suite of apps that make use of it, plus an IR blaster and NFC. Speaking of connectivity options, the Galaxy does support the latest wireless 802.11 AC standard and packs a micro USB 3.0 port, with OTG and MHL HDMI capabilities. Anyway, let's turn our attention on the hardware. On paper, the Note 3 demolishes the iPhone. There's either a Snapdragon 800 or an Exynos chip inside the Samsung, with either a quad-core or an octa-core processor, powerful graphics and 3GB of RAM. It's worth mentioning that only the Snapdragon version of the Note 3 will support LTE speeds, the Exynos one will not. On the iPhone, there's merely a dual-core Apple A7 processor with powerful graphics and 2GB of RAM. But we are talking about a 74-bit processor here, unlike the ones on the Samsung, with an extra M7 motion co-processing unit, and that is indeed something, although 64-bit apps are a rare commodity these days. In terms of storage, you get 32 or 64GB of space on the Samsung, plus support for microSD cards, while on the iPhone S you're stuck with the space you're getting from starters, so choose carefully between the available options. When it comes to the software on these devices, there's iOS 7 on the iPhone 5s and Android 4.3 with TouchWiz on the Note 3. TouchWiz has its quirks, but even so, the Galaxy is very snappy, perhaps the snappiest Android device I've ever seen. The iPhone is just as smooth, if not smoother, despite the theoretically slower hardware due to the simpler and perhaps better optimized OS. Those aside, let's turn our attention on the cameras. There's a 2-megapixel shooter on the front of the Note 3 that can take 1080p clips, while the one on the iPhone settles for sharp but lower resolution 720p recordings. On the back there's a 30-megapixel camera on the Note and only an 8-megapixel one on the iPhone. But you do get a brighter lens on the 5s and a larger sensor, dual LED flash and improved image stabilization, plus the ability to shoot 720p clips at up to 120 frames per second. The Note 3 bundles the shooting modes we've seen on the Galaxy S4, and the Snapdragon version can even take 4K videos. However, the poor light performances on the Samsung are what concern me though, given what we've seen on the S4, which packs a fairly similar camera. And that's exactly what Apple targets with all their camera tweaks. Anyway, one final thing worth mentioning here is the expected battery life. On the Note 3 there's a 3200 mAh battery removable, while on the iPhone 5s there's a puny 1440 mAh battery encased. In practice, the Galaxy will easily outlast the iPhone in pretty much any scenario and can go for 2 or 3 days of light to medium use between charges, while the iPhone will usually need a pit stop at the end of each day. Of course, we couldn't end such a clip without mentioning the prices, and for what we know right now, the two are going to be fairly close as some of the priciest smartphones of the moment. The unlocked version of the iPhone 5s starts at $650 for the 16GB model, while with contracts you can get it for $199. The Note 3 is going to be more expensive than that, but don't forget that the base version comes with 32GB of storage by default. All in all, the iPhone 5s and the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 are completely different devices. One is sleek, compact and fairly simple. The other is large, complex and stuffed with features not everyone might need, like the S Pen. But if you do and can deal with the size and form factor, you'll surely fall in love with the Note 3. Can the same be said about the iPhone 5s? Well, I'm not so sure. Either way, it's up to you to pick between these two. iPhone 1 will wrap up this clip here. Thanks for watching and stay tuned, I'll have more comparisons and some detailed reviews coming in the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure you don't want to miss them. So go ahead and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.